Real Estate Investing Profits presents Profit Masters with your host, world-renowned real estate coach and investor, Corey Boatwright. Now, strap in and get ready to learn elite wealth-building investment strategies taught by 6- and 7-figure house flipping masters as they reveal their best real estate investing profit secrets to you right now.
What's going on? What's going on? Welcome back to Real Estate Investing Profits Profit Master podcast series. I am your host, Corey Boatwright, and I'm the founder of Real Estate Investing Profits. And who we have today is somebody that has went literally from bankruptcy to a 7-figure house flipping business. He has over 20 projects going right now as we speak. And he is someone that I have a great amount of respect for. His name is Randy Lawrence. Randy is called the real estate preacher, and he's actually a former pastor, and he has really got some insights that just make you know that he has been there and done that. I mean, the guy has got a story that would just blow you away. At the very end of this interview, I want you to make sure you follow Randy. He actually has his own podcast right now, and I want to support him and help him get out there. So what you're going to learn is really some of the best profit master tips that he can provide you, but he also provides some insight into really the way he thinks and what it takes if you're kind of on that edge right now, or if you're not where you want to be, and what it takes in that thinking to get to that next level and how he's done it. If you're interested in that, you'll definitely want to stay tuned and listen to our interview together. Now, make sure if you haven't downloaded our real estate investing guide, the Down and Dirty, the best guide for real estate investing, go ahead and go to 38470, text the word 38470, and that's the word profit, and you will get the guide sent to your phone immediately, okay? 38470, text the word profit. Okay, so here you go. Here is Mr. Randy Lawrence. What's going on, Randy, the real estate preacher?
What's happening, my main man, Corey? Good to see you, brother.
How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing awesome, man. Doing great, man. Just enjoying life and having a good time, brother.
I love it, man. Okay, so some of folks have heard of you before, but if they have not, I'd like for you to take just a little bit of time to introduce yourself and just talk about your area of expertise in real estate, Randy.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate it, brother. Yeah, so our focus has been primarily in rehabbing. We have had, just again, like yourself, we had a short sale company in past. And then, of course, we've done tons of rehabbing. And then over the last probably 4 years, really transitioned strategically to resume that. That's kind of where I started off back in 03 through 06 in the rehabbing arena. And then, 6, 7, and 8 didn't prove too well for that season.
Sure.
And then but we've really kind of got back focused on that. And, right now we're running about 20 active rehab projects ongoing right now as we speak. So we really have got it dialed in and really cranking. And then just as a side note too, I am also an actual preacher, so, I mean, that's like, hence the real estate preacher. I mean, so, because people are like, hey, what is all that about? And so I have been a pastor since probably 2000 and, been involved in founding churches and stuff like that. So that's kind of how the name came about.
I love that. I think it's great. And what made you want to get involved with real estate from being a preacher?
Well, it's funny. I had a background as a money management stockbroker, money manager, and all like that. And it was probably in about 2003. It was almost like I would say a divine interjunction from God. Really, it just like kind of. I probably had a previous involvement and desire in real estate. In '99, I bought a duplex, lived in one side, rented the other side out. But I was content with the money management thing. It's a pretty good gig. But it was really like in 2003, I just had a kind of an insight or an awakening, however you want to describe it, like that somebody was going to give me real estate. And so I just, the next day, really started learning all I could. I actually bought a Carlton Sheets, no money down course.
Little ads in the newspaper.
Yeah, exactly. So But it was like out of that, probably 2 months later, literally, the very first property I got was a 7-unit apartment complex that a guy literally gave me, signed it over. I mean, it looked like it was going to fall down.
Wow.
But he literally signed it over to me and took it subject to the mortgage, and that was my first rehab project.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty for a sevenplex.
Yeah.
To be your first, that's a pretty.
Yeah, I would not recommend that.
Yeah,
But,
you jumped in.
But
someone
in.
gave it to you, so what are you going to do, right?
Yeah. Well, exactly. So I mean, it worked out pretty good because then we turned around, refinanced it, cashed out, used that money to start the project. But I made a lot of mistakes. So
Sure. I think we all have made a lot of mistakes. We're going to talk about that actually a little bit here, but before that. Did you have what we call a breaking point? Did you have a point where you were doing something and it was okay, this banking position, or, your financial background, doing something 9 to 5. And was there a point where there's a breaking point and you said, enough's enough. I know I bring more value to the table. I'm smarter than this guy or whatever it is. Yeah. And just you broke out of that.
Yeah. I think though, for me, it was really more probably that moment was like in 2008. So I was already involved in real estate,
okay,
but just the crash and all the stuff that was going on. And I mean, I was just going through kind of, hell and back, if you will. It's just really tough. And I remember very specifically, it was almost like my back's against the wall. Things are not going the way I want it. And it was just like, putting my foot down inside, so to speak, to say, you know what? I refuse to accept this kind of thing anymore. I'm going to go forward, figure out what is the direction to go, how to make the profits that we desire, to live the life that I want, and to really achieve the success that I believe God had for me and has for me.
Yeah.
And so that was really kind of a divine moment, a turning point, if you will, because, we'd had success, but really I got crushed in 6, 7, and 8 here in Florida, and really just completely wiped out. And but so that really, I would say, was the launching point, that moment, for the greater success that we're having now. And I could trace it back to that kind of defining moment decision.
Wow. So basically, then, I mean, the market really caused you a huge wake up call.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, we probably had accumulated about $5 million in rental properties through that period of time from 03 to 7.
Yeah.
And it just, I mean, we had stuff with equity in it. And like even that apartment complex, it had probably 150 grand of equity, got totally wiped out. Rents
Completely
went
gone.
from 550 to 300,
Jeez.
So we got totally wiped out. But it was that moment that really transformed me to also become more strategic in my thinking and not just look at the moment, but look at a more longer term focus as well too.
Yeah, we get knocked down, so we can learn to get back up again, right?
Exactly.
Like Batman.
Yeah.
Right? Which, there's actually we could probably spend more time talking about biblical principles that come from that as well. But we'll keep chugging here. What was one of your biggest influence? You said Carlton Sheets. Did you have somebody else that was a big influence for you in real estate investing?
Yeah, I had, and again, like his course, I just took it in because that was a starting point. But I had another friend of mine that I had met from church, and they probably had about 1,000 apartments, and they'd been heavily invested in apartments and commercial. So that was the beginning part there. And then the guy that actually held the mortgage on the first that 7-plex, he's a seasoned real estate attorney, investor, and lender. And so he really became a friend, and we're great friends today. So he was able to helpful, giving me encouragement, some direction. But, one of the things I think that I would say looking back as a mistake that I didn't have like a mentor that I could, one of the things I've learned, of course, now is what you want to do, find the person that's doing what you want,
right,
and then learn from them because they're already doing what you want.
Sure.
And I didn't have that, and so I was trying to make my own way with the help of a couple different people, and it worked okay, but it wasn't as successful as it could have been.
Sure. Yeah, and it's another question we'll talk about in a little bit about the power of kind of a coach.
Yeah.
And a mentor. What was one of the big real estate mistakes that you went through? If you remember one specific deal, maybe one of your worst deals, Randy, and how did you get through it? Walk us through what you did. Maybe we can learn from that.
Yeah. Well, and funny enough, that 7-unit starting one, I can look back at that. I had a couple of people told me you should get a contract or contractor to come in and start, renovating the units and, get them fixed price. And I thought to myself, well, I could bring in this guy and hire him per hour and bring in this person and hire him per hour and be saving money. And what turned out, I ended up having people that came on a payroll scenario, which caused me to have to then be more, watching over them, paying for materials. And it was just really a mistake, I worked through it by just continuing to plow forward, and what should have cost, $45,000 or $50,000 ended up probably costing $70,000.
Yeah.
Thankfully though, there was enough meat on the bone to cover for my mistake. And then also 2003, we were still in a rapidly appreciating market here in Florida, so that helped to make up for it too. But I think, the one key I would say is that when you realize it's a mistake, I was already in, I realize it's a mistake, I had to go forward. So many times people quit.
Sure. Yeah. You
I
had to move forward.
up,
Right.
So I kept going forward. I fixed it. I started beginning to bring in certain people, fixed pricing, but I still had the two guys, on salary per se, hourly, and just the cost overruns, turned out really bad on that project. But at the end of the day, we still got it done. And then what I didn't also foresee was just how terrible it was renting the place, because it was a real low-end marketplace. And so, I am showing up in a tie from the money management thing, and I've got, I'm throwing out crackheads from before and biker gang people, So it was quite the diverse universe, from going from money management as a stockbroker to then having some biker people that, you had to evict. So,
Right.
Crazy.
Right. Yeah. Well, what's one piece of advice that you give for sharing or running, rather, a successful real estate business? What's one piece of advice you'd share?
Yeah, I would say that, really to focus on, if you running a business, is to become strategic. So oftentimes people are just looking to make money, or they'll do, whatever's right in front of them, the shiny object.
Right.
And you've got to become, and what you said is running a business. Running a business becomes more strategic, and that's really the question. It's like, hey, are you looking to just flip one house and make 10, 20, 30 grand? Or are you looking to, like you said, create a business, create financial freedom, create a lifestyle? If that's the case, then you start to look out strategically what you want to accomplish and work back towards the steps that are required to get there. And that's one of the things I didn't do really in the very beginning. I bought that 7-unit place, and the next I bought a 3-unit place in the next county. So, I'm literally, 40 miles away. And, and that was a time where you almost took what you could take to get a deal, because again, in 2003 in Florida, it was tougher to get, good deals on properties.
Right. Right.
So, but even too, let me just say this, that was an excuse mentally, right? If I would have known the pathway, maybe with the correct marketing, had the right help and the right diligence, I could have found the better deals in the strategy of where my area would be. I just didn't take that effort. I took the least passive resistance and ended up getting a cobbled together, later turned in mess.
Right. Right. Yeah. And, it's interesting because you've ran a successful business for, a while now, and you've seen the volatility, right? Yeah. You've seen the ups and the downs and the ups and the downs. And for you to say to be strategic is interesting because, sometimes, and I think most of us, we just go as hard as we can. Yeah, we just get in the car and start driving, right? Yeah. And then someone says, "Where are you going?" And you're like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. You want a map?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, what's a map? I just got in the car and started driving.
Sure.
But that's a really it's a foretelling of some of our kind of ways we think about business. But being strategic, I think, is really important. About getting that map, figuring out where you want to go. It's interesting. You actually said that you think about the end first, like what's it look like, and then you reverse engineer it.
Yeah.
And I think that's crucial to be able to really see what it is you want. What do you want to do? How many deals do you want to do a month? How much marketing is that going to take? What's that going to look like? Yeah. And then putting yourself in the position where you're there, right? And what's that going to look like? Reverse engineering it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think the benefit to the folks who are listening right now is like, I learned that by doing it the wrong way. You know what I mean? And then it's like to be able to hear what you're saying, hear what I'm saying, instead of rejecting, but accepting and learning from that experience is the opportunity to really dramatically cut down and learn from my mistakes and, learn from your wisdom. And that's something that's invaluable. And hopefully, Lord willing, people embrace that. I know in an honest way, I would sometimes hear that and then do it my own way, right? Oh, hey, thanks for the map, but I'm keeping driving. I've got a plan.
That's right. You have to pull over, don't you?
Yeah.
Sometimes, a lot of times it's hard to look at the map driving, right? It's not really the most safe thing. So you got to pull over. And I think pulling over many times is a negative experience for a driver, for an investor, for an entrepreneur. Pulling over kind of means like, you got to slow down, and that's not what we want to hear.
Sure. Well, it's funny, too, because just like where we're at, I probably about 4 or 5 weeks ago just changed our formula to acquire less homes for a period of moment while we digested some of the construction. And then just yesterday told my acquisitions manager, okay, here's the tweak back on the formula. And then, so we got less properties that came in, but that was also kind of like what you're saying is, being willing to maybe pull over for a little bit, make sure you're clear about what you're doing, or, maybe you need an oil change or whatever it is. And,
right. Yeah.
Bam, now you're ready to gear and go faster. And so like literally just before we started, she was ringing the bell because we just got this monster deal, and you have to be willing to do that. And I think sometimes people aren't willing to do it, and then they're going to miss out on the greater acceleration that can come when you've been willing to do that.
That's great. You said ringing the bell? Do you actually have somebody in the office that rings the bell?
Yeah. Whenever we get a deal or have something good that goes on, there's a bell that's on a large ship,
right?
And then it's and on the bell it's encased. It's like a bronze type bell. It says Jesus reigns, and then they ring the bell, ding 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 ding.
That's
ding,
cool.
Like that. Yeah. So
that's great.
Just to keep it lively, and then especially too, we're hiring another salesperson, and so again, when they lock up a contract. Bing, 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 and you just keep that.
I love it.
Yeah, keep the atmosphere going on a higher energy level.
That's cool. That's cool. How many people do you have working for you now?
5 right now.
Wow.
All
in-house folks.
We have an acquisitions manager, an accounting finance manager, closing operations manager, and then just hired about 2.5 months ago, construction manager.
Wow, you got your hands full right now.
Yeah, it's good. And then we've got a salesperson, and we're fixing to January hire another inside salesperson is the next step.
Getting the machine all built up.
We're retooling and cranking it up, and so we've got things dialed in pretty good. With the renovations, there's always with the rehabbing, there's always stuff that goes on, and unforeseen stuff and challenges. But we've got a lot of good systems in place, and then even good external team contractors. And then our renovations manager, the rehab guy, he's really doing a great job. So
that's great. If you had to start all over, what would you change? What's some advice for maybe a new investor?
Yeah, the new person, I would say that, and I don't think people oftentimes embrace or think this way. It's a learned process. A lot of times it goes counter to what most people kind of makeup is that to really think things through as you're doing them from the form and focus of systems. So even to where, like sometimes people are like, God, I just got to get a deal. Mm-hmm. Well, develop a system for getting a deal, so that, whether it's marketing, whether you're doing direct mail, right, or whether it's bandit signs or whatever it is, but you're developing a system where you can begin to gauge, like what you said earlier, you begin to know how much gas you're putting down on the pedal,
right,
and then what kind of results that's going to yield. I talked with one guy and he's like, well, couldn't I just get something from a wholesaler? I said, well, that's fine. You could do that. But are you really going to be building a business on just possibility that maybe somebody's going to bring you a deal here and there and it might come together or might not.
Right. Hope. You're right. You're building a business on hope. It's not necessarily the best strategy.
No, exactly. Yeah. And I've tried that strategy. Like, hope is good to have in your life, but it's not a good business strategy.
Not a great business strategy.
No, exactly.
Right. Yeah. Okay. That's good. So I think building systems is great. What about a motivational quote or a business quote? What's one of your favorites?
My favorite is probably, I use it a lot, is Henry Ford. Whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're right.
All about the perspective.
It is, that a lot of times our biggest enemy is right in between here of what we're thinking or the limitations that we don't think we can do it. And the truth of the matter is we are more resourceful than what we give ourselves credit for. We have deeper strength than what we know is possible. And we can actually do more than what we may believe is possible for us to do.
There's no app for this, right?
Yeah.
There's no mobile app for this. Use your head, but make sure you protect it too. Protect your thoughts. They are some of the most valuable things that you can have in your life. Absolutely.
I on a daily basis, am telling myself and affirming things, that I'm resourceful, I'm powerful, I'm mighty. Some people would look at that and they go, man, that guy's kind of weird or crazy. But think about this. Like, how many times do people, they make a mistake? Oh, my God, I'm so stupid.
Right.
And, so you have no problem telling yourself you're stupid, but you have a problem telling yourself you're awesome.
That's so true.
I look in the mirror and say, man, you're awesome. You're going to kick butt today, whatever those things may be. Because why? I'm conditioning my mind to think the right way so that when obstacles come, I know, what? I'm resourceful. I can go, praise God. That's just a stepping stone to the next platform of us moving forward.
That's great. You have that mindset. You have that trap on and that filter for anything that comes in where the enemy's trying to beat you up. My mentor, one of the guys I actually first worked with on doing real estate as a banker, whenever I was actually using my own credit, doing the wrong things in the beginning, he told me one time I was going through a really tough time in my life. And he went through a personal similar time, and he saw me coming in. I was downtrodden, and he said, "You don't look too good today, Boatwright." And I said, "No, I'm not feeling real good today." And he said, "Well, why don't you put the hammer down?" And I said, "What hammer?" And he goes, "The hammer you keep beating yourself over the head with." I'll never forget it. It made me smile, but it made me think, that I was beating myself over the head with this hammer. And I think we all do that to you saying what you did a while ago. I mean, that's what we do. We beat ourselves up, and we're so easy to do that. But yet it's such a hard, challenging thing to say something good about ourselves. Well, I don't know if it's, we feel prideful, and so we don't want that in our lives. But we have a hard time distinguishing between good pride, right?
Yeah,
the pride that if your kid does well at the baseball game or the basketball game, you have pride and excited, a good pride, or pride before God, if we can just say that, right? And there's two differences there. Yeah. I don't think we should go all into that right now, but just to prove the point, we do need to think about that. We need to quit. We need to put the hammer down.
Absolutely.
We need to put the hammer down, and we need to tell ourselves that we are powerful and that, we are put on this earth to do great things. And I believe, as well as you, Randy, that with you, that, God wants us to do great things. And I think the person that is telling us we shouldn't isn't God, isn't the voice of God. And I think it's something else. I think it's the enemy. I think it's stress. I think it's spiritual warfare. If you go from a biblical standpoint, there's our weapons of our warfare are not carnal. They're supernatural.
Yeah.
And so I think that there's a lot of that goes on in our heads.
It is, and crazy enough too. It's like we can pick up things like even you're playing pee-wee football, and the coach at 9 years old says, "All right, you're down on the bench. You're not good enough for this." And just that emotional impact of that comment, people don't even realize it, but then now subconsciously there's this backstory, I'm not good enough, and again, now if somebody would say I'm crazy, where would that come from? But it's like the truth is those things get anchored into our mind, and then if we're not proactively, pulling that out and replacing it with the right things, what happens is then at 25, 35, 40, some of these things are still there. And those are those little voices that pop up and say, I don't know if you can do it. And it doesn't, play back the tape from when you were 9 being put on the bench, but it's been anchored in there. And so without having that, daily focus of retooling that thinking, those things that we've picked up along the way, affect us. I think about like success. I somehow envision, and I picked this up somewhere, of seeing a guy, talking on the cell phone and wheeling and dealing. Like that was the picture of success, like almost you'd see in a 1980s, kind of stockbroker movie or whatever, one of those things. And it's like I later come to realize success is being the guy that owns the company that's sitting there in Tahiti while the business is running, not being the guy that's on the phone all the time and jockeying around. It's like, right. And then I realized it's like, wow, you know what? I kind of picked up this somewhere along the way and had this false belief in my mind. So it's crazy sometimes what you realize that your mind can do. So,
sure. We have negative thoughts, and they're like magnets. So when we have one, it will find another negative thought in our past, typically, and it will attract it.
Sure.
And it'll, like you said, the backstory will come there, and then that starts to attract another negative thought. So you've got to be very careful on what you allow in your head and how you filter out those things. Yeah. Randy, what is a book that changed your life? I think I know the answer to this.
Yeah. Well, the Bible for sure, number one. That's one of the all-time bestsellers, of course, and that really was the biggest change and transformation of my life at 27.
Amen.
Reading that and then putting my faith in Jesus, and it really turned me 180 degrees around from the wrong direction to the right direction. And then I would say the next book to that would also be John Maxwell book called Thinking for a Change.
Cool.
And it really talks about thinking how successful people think is what it is. And, a lot of times I would read books, a lot of reading after that transformation at 27. But a lot of times I wouldn't do like the questions at the back of the chapter. You just read on to the next.
Yeah.
And you miss out on the benefit.
You don't want to do the curriculum.
You don't want to do the work, right? Like, that's great information. And so really reading that book, it was probably in 2008 or 9. It was that was significantly huge in helping me as, again, same time in that decision I was making, and then really becoming strategic in my thinking. And so that's really, I would highly recommend that book to anybody in the business arena, because it really gives you a straightforward, step-by-step approach on how to begin to think.
I like that.
It's going to yield success.
I like John Maxwell. I got several of his books, and he has a great Bible. Actually, it's fantastic. He has great programs. What's one of your favorite mobile apps that you use in your business every day?
Podio has. We just converted over to Podio in the last few months, and that's really a tremendous asset.
It is. You can run your whole business right on Podio.
Yeah, it is. And I'm still, realistically, I'm not a master of it yet, but praise God, we're mastering it, and learning to use it in every shape and fashion that we can.
We do too. I love Podio. Use it every day. What's a morning routine, or do you have one?
Yeah, it's good. Every day I've been doing this since 18 years ago, and then get up first thing in the morning. Probably spend 30 to 45 minutes to an hour reading, praying, just focusing on my day, saying through
just intention, what you're going to do for the day.
Say what my intentions are, reading through my affirmations, where I have things that I've written out that are specific to areas I'm working on in my personal life, family life, spiritual life, business, money. And all of those, have tangible things that I'm saying to myself as part of that time. So I start off, reading in the Bible, spending time praying, thinking about my day, asking for guidance and direction, and then kind of finishing up with that plan for the day, reinforcing, what my big rocks are for the day, and then hitting my affirmations and really saying them with vigor, you know what I mean? And if you just go, well, I'm a rock star,
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Now, you got to say it like with emotion and meaning and significance, and visualize too. Like at my home office, the entire room is covered with pictures of like my giant vision board. The whole room is a vision board, of things that I want to achieve. Like, so the Porsche that I drive, that was a car that was on
the vision board.
the vision board of my wall. Every day I'd see it there, and it's like, so I'm driving around in a Sebring and pulling up at the light. I'm already in my Porsche, but everybody else sees me in a Sebring. So it just, a couple years later, now it actually is a Porsche that they're seeing me in. So
I love it. That's cool. Okay, so what time in the morning you get up? About what time you think?
It varies. I mean, I like this morning I was up at probably 4:00.
Wow.
A lot of times it's like 5:30.
Yeah.
It just varies. I don't usually set an alarm clock. I go to bed probably by 10:30 or 11. And I'm usually good on 5 or 6 hours sleep.
What's the single greatest lesson that you've learned to help you get to where you are today?
Yeah, I would say the willingness to embrace help from others and the willingness to model successful people in humility and have ego out of the way.
It's so easy to give, Randy, but it's so hard to receive, right?
Yeah, there's part of our human makeup that, like, and again, like, I'm a driver kind of person, and a lot of people maybe fall in that category. Like, somebody that's showing us, here's how I've done it to achieve this, and a lot of times we want to then put our own spin on it to change it.
Right.
And it's like, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Now you can adapt it for your marketplace, or you can make some modifications that may suit who you are, but the fundamentals of what's yielding success, there's no need to change it because it's already working effectively. And I think for me, in the very beginning, that's the truth. I would see something that somebody's doing, and then I'd put my own kind of spin
on it. Mm-hmm.
And then my own spin didn't spin the same results as what they got.
Interesting.
And part of that is the ego. It's like, you know what? It still requires you to bust your butt. It still requires you to think. It still requires you to be smart. It still requires you to be strategic. But you're just taking that wisdom, or, it's like me. We're running 20. I remember meeting a guy at a Christmas party in like 2004, and I was at the money management company, and he was a relative friend. And he's doing this rehab and stuff. Now, I had just started on the side. I still was in the money management deal. And I said, how many projects are you doing? He's like, man, we got 10 houses. And I'm like, 10 houses?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Oh,
wow.
my gosh, right?
I mean, I had just started my first one. I got these multifamilies, and then I bought, 2 single-family homes to start doing that. And I'm like, 10? Oh, my God. And I'm thinking to myself, I want to get there someday. How on God's green earth would I even do that?
Right. Yeah.
And then so now I'm at a place where I'm doing double that. And it's like, so when I talk to somebody that's learning one, for me to do one is like, I could do that in my sleep.
Sleep now, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so that's where I think, if I would say the biggest thing I would say to somebody is being willing to put the ego aside and receive from somebody who is that mentor type person or that expertise type person who's got proven, results, then you know what? Hey, I'm going to listen to you fully, take it in and run with it.
It's interesting, a biblical standpoint as well, that God wants us to be willing vessels, right? To be moldable. So how great is it to also have that same part that in life and business,
It's funny. You say that too, and I think about it's like, that's exactly what Jesus did with the 12 disciples. He said, hey, I'm going to show you the way to go.
Right.
And those 12 got other people and said, here, we're going to show you the way to go.
Right.
And so that kind of was the genesis.
The first mastermind.
Yeah, first mastermind, you know what I mean? And so,
right.
I think, especially for folks starting off, it's like, man, be willing to embrace the expertise of somebody like yourself or myself, or, the mentor that you have in your life, or somebody that's a true voice speaking into your life, giving you truth, giving you wisdom, giving experience. Set aside the ego and be willing to say, you know what? Thank you. I receive it. I'm going to take it and run with it.
Right. Be teachable, be moldable. What are you most grateful for, Randy?
Really, the thing is Christ coming into my life, totally transformed my life at 27. I drug trafficker and broken home and just all the different stuff.
Your story is amazing, man. I mean, it's
Thank you, bro. And again, genuinely, apart from that happening and him coming into my life at 27, I'd probably been dead or really in prison, and that's the truth. And
Hey, I'm there too. I'm there too.
I mean, so that, and then my wife and daughter, that's like the sequence of things. It's like the Lord in my life, my wife and my daughter, and then the ability to serve through what He's called me to do here in the real estate and the teaching and the church stuff. And, so that's kind of, I don't lose sight of that. You know what I mean? Like, so oftentimes the more success we gain, or we kind of take for granted where we're at. And
right.
Like on a daily basis, I genuinely,
you stay pretty grounded. I know that. Yeah.
It's like, I flip through the TV channels sometimes. I'm watching TV and you see like they got these shows, Drugs, Inc. and different stuff on cable. And it's like, God, man, it's like, if it wasn't for the Lord in my life,
you'd be right there.
I'd probably be right there, and so I keep that reality, and it keeps me, like you said, grounded.
It's great.
And also grateful for where I'm at.
It's great. Grateful project, buddy. Every day, something to be grateful for, right? What point would you recommend hiring a coach or a mentor? What point in your life, or how would you think that that's been really important to you now?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, I would say the truth is, for somebody, it's, if you really want to say get into real estate, the best way to do that is to hire a mentor in getting into real estate. Somebody says, well, I haven't done my first deal. All the more the reason to have the mentor, because they're going to show you the pathway to be able to do it, and to do it smarter, better, quicker, faster, and cut down on the mistakes.
Right.
Again, I've embraced that, because it's like, I have, of course, the mastermind that we're a part of. That's a mentorship program. I still have mentors in my life that, I meet with once a month and talk to and run things through. And it's an important thing. And then even too, in the arena where we're at now, if there's something that I need help with, I reach out to somebody that's a master in that arena, and I ask them for the help with, explaining how they do it, how would they approach this thing. And, if I was just starting off, that's the time to do it. If you're already 5 years in, now is the time to do it.
Right now is the time to do it. Right, right.
And if somebody says, well, I don't know if I can afford it. Look, you can't afford not to.
That's great. Great perspective. Truth. If you had to summarize it, Randy, why do you do what you do? Why do you get up in the morning and do this real estate business?
Yeah, it's really a mission. Like I said, back in 2003, I really just know God directed me into the real estate arena, and that's why I sold my investment practice and moved in that direction. And at this point now, it's more about delivering value to help people, and we do that through the real estate. And then also too, as we have the teaching component and the real estate preacher. It's also an opportunity to deliver value to help people, because at the end of the day, I believe we're all put here for a purpose, and we're created for a reason. And so for me, just like when I was pastoring the church, this of equal caliber, and some people may not like to hear that, but of equal caliber is like, this is a calling for me in this vein, and it suits how I'm made and put together, and I'm able to deliver value to help people in that journey. And then through that, also, we try to do things the right way, in a way that honors God, and a manner with which we can be a blessing to somebody, whether we're buying their home or in turn selling them a home that's all fixed up.
Sure.
That either way, that's a good thing. So that's really kind of the driver. And then I think for me, pursuing goals, because I've got goals that I have and visions of what I want to accomplish, it's about the journey of who I'm becoming to achieve that goal.
It's interesting. The journey, sure. Someone said the other day that there is no path to happiness, that happiness is the path.
Yeah.
No, I think that the journey of that is interesting to correlate with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree that, and the good thing about that for me is that it's never in a riving moment, you know what I mean? Because what happens, okay, I made X amount of money. What's next? It's, you get to a tangible thing. It's like, it's about a journey of growth and a journey of becoming a better human being, whether that's a better, business leader, a better father, husband, all those things as I go through my day, a better employer, that's helping me to get the opportunity to improve. And as I improve, I'm better equipped to achieve the dreams that I want to achieve.
I could not agree with you more. Randy, I appreciate you being on here. How can we serve you? How can we help you? How can we, help you achieve your part of your vision? And how can we get in touch with you as well?
Thank you, brother. Yeah, definitely. For folks listening, give us a review and a 5-star rating on our podcast there at The Real Estate Preacher on iTunes. Definitely would love and appreciate that. And then you can like us on Facebook at The Real Estate Preacher, or if in contacting us, you can use the email, contact us at therealestatepreacher.org.
Therealestatepreacher.org.
Yep.
Sounds good. I know you're going to be incredibly successful with your podcast, and I know you have a message that many people, if they are willing to listen, can have incredible change in their life and positive impact. And I know God's doing things through you, and it's an honor to call you my friend. It's also an honor to have you on here on the show. And make sure that you go to therealestatepreacher.org. Make sure you get in touch with, and start following Randy and see what he's doing. He is someone you can learn a lot from. So thank you again, Randy. I appreciate you taking the time to be on here.
Absolutely, brother. Thank you so much. I appreciate you too, my brother.
All right. Talk to you later. Remember to attend our next Profit Master podcast show. And I appreciate you being on here, Randy. Bye now.
All right.
Bye.
You've been listening to another Real Estate Investing Profits Master podcast series. To receive your free real estate book, Down and Dirty, Ultimate Real Estate Investing Quick Start Guide, how to quit your job to start flipping houses in 90 days or less, head online and go to realestateinvestingprofits.com. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/Real Estate Investing Profits. Thanks again for listening, and stay tuned for our next episode.